One shoe was used to run the world's first ever sub-2 marathon. The other was used to run the current men's and women's marathon world records. However, the question remains, which should you buy? Today, let's explore the Nike Alphafly versus Nike Vaporfly. Hey, what's poppin'? Jordan Thomas here. Very excited to talk to you about today's video where I'll be comparing the Nike Alphafly versus the Nike Vaporfly. These are two of the most talked about shoes over the past 2 years, and with the recent release of the Nike Vaporfly Mango, I thought it'd be a great time to help you decide which of these shoes is right for you. Let's begin with Nike Alphafly, starting with the upper. What you're going to see with this is an atom knit construction. It kind of serves as a one-piece, very breathable fabric. It's fly knit that's been stretched out in such a way that it's going to be optimized for weight. You're going to see some areas where it's reinforced not only in the toe, but also in the heel. Also equipped with pull tabs in the somewhat tongue-like area, as well as for the heel. And what you'll notice also is the asymmetrical lacing. For the Nike Vaporfly, you're gonna have vapor weave, which is more just kind of like a synthetic type of fabric. You're gonna have asymmetrical laces again. These are gonna be more of like a kind of like flat lay type of lacing. And you'll have a detached tongue that's gonna lay pretty flat as well. If you're more into a very heavily breathable type of shoe when you're racing, then I say go with the Alphafly. If you're looking for something that's just gonna do a really good job of like pulling away moisture, kind of reminds you more of a training type of shoe, I would say go with the Vaporfly. For the style of running that I do, I would pick the Vaporfly as far as this comparison. Next, let's move right on to the midsole. Ultimately, this is where the magic and a lot of the innovation that we see in shoes today takes place. So let's start with the Nike Alphafly. There's a whole lot going on here, so I'll try to break it down as simply as I possibly can. Beginning in the toe area, what you'll see is a great deal of Zoom X, and then let's jump straight into these Nike Air Zoom Pods. I thought this is a really innovative thing, and when I did my full review on these shoes, I talked about how this is a really cool architectural innovation, in as much as that Nike Air has been around for years. But this is the first time they put it in a shoe, and they put it in the forefoot in order to give a person some additional support, springiness, ability to keep running faster for longer. Then you've got this exposed Nike Fly plate, which is made of carbon fiber, and then they threw as much Zoom X as they possibly could get into this shoe, all while trying to keep the overall weight down in the shoe. For Nike Vaporfly, in comparison, it looks a lot simpler, but when these first came out, they were looked at as the shoe that certainly turned a lot of heads and got people talking about the shoe, not only because of their performance, but just because of the look. And so with this, you've got pretty much a one-piece Zoom X. You've got a carbon fiber plate in there that isn't visible. And so just off of looks, if you're looking for something that's going to be eye-catching, something that's going to just make you stand out in the crowd, then I would go with the Alphafly. If you're looking for something a little bit tamer, but also still on a little bit of edgy, kind of cool side, then I would say go with the Vaporfly. Now, just off of looks, I would choose the Alphafly for this one. I just thought this was a really cool way to get air in there. I've wondered for a long time why air hadn't been present in any of the running shoes, and so for them to do it in this way, I thought that was really dope. Moving on to the outsole. We'll go with the Nike Vaporfly for this one. It's a very simple rubberized bottom that's primarily in the forefoot, and it starts to kind of like fade away as you get towards the midfoot. You've got a bunch of exposed foam here, really cool check mark, and then you've got some painted over rubber here as well. Much more exciting, however, with the Nike Alphafly, you've got this blown rubber, and what they wanted to do is to be able to optimize for the weight, as well as have something that you could attach the Zoom X to, as well as the AirPod, and still create something that would seem somewhat seamless. Now, one thing you'll also notice when you get to the outsole is that the Zoom X kind of like ramps down, and then you get this painted over rubber. If you're looking for something that reminds you of a more like simplistic type of bottom, then I would say go with the Vaporfly. If you want to get all the innovation you possibly can, then I would say go with this one. For me, once again, I would pick the Nike Alphafly. I just thought this was a really cool way and really a cool design challenge or constraint that they were able to solve for by creating that. Now, let's talk about the fit, because ultimately, we're having a really cool innovations and specs are awesome. I wanna make sure that you understand how these shoes may play out for you when you put them on. Going with the Nike Vaporfly, this shoe is overall a fairly narrow type shoe. I found that I was true to size in my 11.5, had a decent amount of room from the front to the back. When it came to the forefoot area, it is a pretty narrow shoe. There's a little bit of give. I have a pretty narrow foot, But if you have a wider foot, you want to keep that in mind. And then you've got the wraparound that's taking place in the heel collar that's giving additional support with this additional reinforcement, so no heel slippage. Also, this Vaporweave material in combination with these laces, I felt like I was able to get a very snug feel, and that's how I want to feel when it comes to a racing shoe, so you want to keep that in mind. When it comes to the Alphafly, also 11.5, what you'll notice is when you slip your foot into these, you have to work a little bit harder, and I think that's where the pull tabs in the tongue, but also in the heel, become pretty critical. I did feel like there was additional room in the toe box in comparison to the two. I have a narrow foot, so it's not as big of an issue for me, but I think that's something you want to keep in mind. In the forefoot, I found like that I couldn't get this tight enough, even with trying to really pull really hard on the laces. And I really think that's just kind of one of the things that you got to keep in mind when it comes to fly knit material. And then once again, you got the reinforced heel collar that I didn't ever experience any heel slipping. So you want to keep those in mind. So for me, the edge is going to go to the Vaporfly. I just found it was just a little bit more familiar in the way that I want to race. When it comes to race day, I don't want to feel so much different than what it was that I was training in. Let's talk about the thing that matters most to a lot of us, and that's the performance. But since there's not really races going on, what I want to really talk about is how does it ride? And so let's talk about that and what it does in terms of your overall form. What I found with the Alphafly is that the shoe essentially forces you to be on your forefoot in order to get it to work at its best. That for me is a little bit of a challenge in terms of just the way that I like to run, particularly when it comes to longer distances. So the shoe is certainly fast, for sure. I was able to run like just right around like under 30 seconds on the 200 meters, which is something I never thought I'd be able to do in a marathon shoe. I've certainly put in a few different 10 milers, workouts on the track, a few different tempo runs. However, after I would finish those workouts, I would feel some discomfort right in this area of the foot. And that's because I'm not used to running fully on my forefoot for that longer period of time. So that's something you want to keep in mind. I don't think the shoe performs as well as you begin to like roll back towards your heel, which is something that ends up happening to me the longer that I run. And so I think that's something you should be aware of when it comes to this shoe. When it comes to the Nike Vaporfly, however, this shoe once again feels like a training shoe, and it allows for a bit more give. And so whether I was on my forefoot, on my midfoot, or even get to the point where I'm heel striking, particularly when I started taking it up to like 10, 12 miles, I found that I had a great deal of comfort. And ultimately, performance and the way you think about a ride should be measured by how comfortable you are and how you're able to rock out as it comes to overall run. So the way that I look at these in terms of like overall rides and how I would compare them, the way I would sum this up is that this would be your sports car type option. If you're looking to run really hard, you're a really fast runner, you want to be on your toes, you want to max out your absolute ability, then you go with these. If you're thinking more of like a sports sedan, however, you want to be able to go fast, but do so with a little bit more comfort, a little bit more flexibility in terms of your running style, then I would say go with these. And so keeping all of those things in mind, ultimately, I'm going to recommend that you go with the Nike Vaporfly if you are a type of runner who has a stride or describes themselves as someone that's really just kind of out there, just trying to get the mileage in. Certainly at the price of $250 and $275 respectively, if you can still get them, is a lot of money for sure. But I think that the flexibility that you get in terms of the overall performance, the various things that I brought up before, the Vaporfly to me is still the best marathon racing shoe available. So if you want to get into some more details about the shoes, I've done individual reviews on both of those. I'll make sure to link to those. Let me know what questions I can answer for you about these shoes. I believe that as of Thursday, both of these shoes are available again. And so I wanted you to have some information that might help you make the decision to purchase or not. Thank you so much for watching this video. It means a lot to me. I am just under 3,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell. That way you know when the latest video is available. And if this video has been helpful to you, be sure to give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what other questions I can answer for you about the shoes. I spent considerable time in both of them and I want to be a help to you. I'll see you next time. Jordan Thomas, peace.